today's highlight with
New geisha with extracts from Mother Nature.
What do you say, Ceci? Do you want to be my girlfriend?
Nope. I need a man who's romantic, and you're not like that.
David, I'm very glad to know that Cecilia has set some sort of limits and that she's keeping you on your toes, you spoiled little brat.
Now show me how passionate you are and make love to me right here.
Oh, sweetheart. That's what I wanted to talk to you about. Sit down.
My mom always wants what's best for us. That's why she uses new geisha with extracts from nature. New geisha with extracts from Mother Nature.
And the change of government won't stop a thing. I've run out of fingers counting the number of multinationals setting up here.
What about the 3 companies that announced their plans to launch last week?
I say they're shopping. Me, I'd be looking to sell.
At what price?
More. Much, much more.
I don't know who you are or how you know these things, but one thing I'm sure of, you're in the wrong job. Here, call me tomorrow at 9 o'clock in the morning. I'd like to hear more from you.
Are you ready for your big break? The East African, understanding the region.
You're watching Morning at NTV.
Singer Lindsay Lohan says that everyone has highs and lows from which they learn. But every morning she gets up with a good shoulder on her head and she says today is going to be an awesome day. If you have the same attitude, welcome to Morning at NTV. My name is Brian and a host of other great people standing by, Joel, Kasiate, Mabel, Dakaba, all ready to make sure that your morning is fantastic. Let's start with the question of the day. Good morning. All right, answer that question for us and there'll be goodies for you. Cups ready for Morning at NTV, and you can enjoy your morning tea in that beautiful mug. All you have to do is send the correct answer. Fast 5 respondents to Facebook Morning at NTV. Like the page first, and Twitter at Morning at NTV. The SMS platform is available 6565. Let us know the correct answer. Remember, we're monitoring first 5 people. Alternatively, follow us on our individual handles at MBGold2, at Joel Senyonyi, that's a double S, at Kasiate, at Mebkeb, at Dakabachigongo. Feel free to tag at NTV Uganda. Today's show is going to feature a strong woman. Many of the ladies will look up to her, and she has made history as one of the most revered beautiful women. Has a song too. Stay with us to find out who she is. But looking up, the big story, press review, everyday life, all coming up on this show. But Mabel is standing by with the stories that are making headlines. Good morning, Mabel.
Good morning, Brian, and a very good morning to you too. Thank you for joining us this day, Wednesday, midweek, whether you're on air or online. This is the show that gets you started. Now, looking at some of the news making headlines, the government is to pass a policy document to guide implementation on EAC affairs. It has emerged that NRM has disbursed 4 billion shillings to drum up support for the president. And the police has released the report revoking the claim of land by renowned businessmen.
You're watching Morning at NTV.
Government will soon pass a policy document to guide integration and implementation of the East African community. According to the East African Minister Shembagene, prior to this, there has been no policy on how East African issues should interface with government programs for the benefit of Ugandans. Samuel Setumba reports.
After about 15 years of the East African community, for countries like Uganda, there was no internal guidance as on how government actions will work with the regional arrangement until now. The East African Community Policy Document for Uganda is now in the offing.
We need this policy so that it can set up the speed at which we should operate, give deadlines, time frames within which certain areas must have been implemented. Because if you don't have any policies, then you're going to be operating in disjointed manner, and at the end of the day, you have not achieved the objectives set out.
The policy will cover areas like education, tourism, environment, health, and standards, among others, with the objective of helping Uganda take advantage of integration. But it may take at least a nudge to get everybody on board.
Ministry of Finance has been in communicating the requirements for budgeting. They have been saying each sector must include the issues of East Africa, otherwise the budget cannot be passed. Once that is done, and if we can get the full support of the Ministry of Finance, it actually means that we should be out there, anybody who puts a budget in place must include the issues of East African integration.
Policies have a way of remaining pieces of documents once they fail to be transmitted to the people on the ground.
We are trying to make sure that it addresses what we call under the East African community, the people-centeredness and being private sector driven. This policy is people-centered. We are talking about people. Otherwise, integration for the sake of integration does not make sense.
Once this ESC policy document gets approved to direct ESC issues in Uganda, the good intentions therein should create opportunity for the citizens it intends to serve. That last connection with you, the common person, will help not make all the effort a waste of time. Samuel Setumba, NTV, Business.
It has emerged that the NRM party has disbursed 4 billion shillings to its lawmakers to drum up support for President Museveni ahead of the 2016 presidential elections. A section of the MPs are accusing their leaders of being unfair in the distribution of the money. Maurice Ochol has more.
Some of the lawmakers from the NRM party have in recent weeks been grumbling over the distribution of 4 billion shillings that their party gave them to mobilize support for President Museveni ahead of the 2016 presidential elections. Last Friday, a section of MPs got in a heated argument over the allocation of the funds. The main bone of contention was that the allocation was unfair. The first tranche of money is reported to have been given on Friday at the office of the Chief Whip. Some of the legislators who declined to speak on the record accused their leaders of dishing out money to their colleagues. But the Chief Whip, Kasole Lumumba, dismissed the claims.
The district, the number of sub-counties, the number of parishes in that sub-counties. So whoever has a complaint, I would really welcome colleagues. I'm available.
Some of the regions that have already received money include Ankole and Karamoja.
We calculate, say, for the fuel we give the member, depends on the distance. So we calculate based on the map that we have, and we use the distance given to us from the Ministry of Works.
The distribution of money is meant to be completed within 6 weeks. The issue of popularizing President Museveni's candidacy for the 2016 polls was unanimously agreed upon by the NRM leaders in the Chankwanze retreat in February this year. Each MP will be given a minimum of 4 million shillings to carry out the task in the sub-counties. A source preview to the disbursement told NTV that women MPs have been allocated a flat rate of 10 million shillings. Maurice Ochol, NTV.
The fate of troubled East Africa Legislative Assembly Speaker Margaret Ziwa continues to hang in the balance as Ugandan MPs in the Assembly allegedly snubbed the committee. The committee chairperson Babidia Veronica says the representatives have not heeded to the call to appear before the committee and must now face the NRM disciplinary committee.
Controversy surrounding efforts to impeach East African Legislative Assembly Speaker continues to drag on, with a stalemate in the Parliamentary Committee on East African Affairs. The chairperson of the committee and Buyende District Woman Member of Parliament, Veronica Babiri, accused the Ugandan representatives to the Arusha-based parliament of indiscipline.
The other members are not responding so fast, so I think we can use the NRM caucus so that these other members are recalled.
However, members disagreed with the ideas of a party caucus interfering with regional matters, arguing that not all who signed the impeachment letter were from the ruling party.
The members from Uganda is nationalistic. Yes. And the East African Committee of Parliament is non-partisan.
They report to the committee to brief the committee, because it's through the committee that their issues will get to Parliament and we know their position. So I don't think they can defy. And
we voted for them, and they are supposed to come and inform us, even when there is no conflict.
Not NRM, how can I go to the NRM caucus? Please, I don't want to get into second guessing what the committee might have said or might not have said, because I haven't heard anything from them. What I'm telling you is what I've been told by my chairperson, Honorable Ngani. If you want to anything more, contact Honorable Ngani.
MPs Dora Byamukama, Nusrati Peru, Chris Opoka, Bernard Mulengani and Daniel Kidega are among the MPs backing the censure against Ziwa. MPs Susan Nakawuchi, Fred Mbide and Mike Sebalu have so remained non-committal. Ziwa is accused of poor governance, abuse of office, disrespect and intimidation of Yala members and staff. Allegations she denies. There are concerns that Ziwa's ouster would deal a great blow to Uganda's foreign interests, and there are no guarantees that a Ugandan would replace her. With no provision for a deputy speaker, business will also stall with Ziwa's exit. Early last week, Speaker Rebecca Kadaga directed that the committee meets Yala members to discuss the matter. The committee is set to meet the representatives next Thursday. Sheila Nduchire, NTV Parliament.
You're still watching Morning at NTV. We now go to Brian, Joel and Simon for today's press review. Press review
is brought to you by
Uganda Telecom. It's all about you.
It's Wednesday, the 9th day of April 2014, and yes, we are back to your screens in the morning of this wonderful day to bring you up to speed with what's the goings on with regard to the papers that have hit the stands this morning. And of course, before us, we've got the red paper. Who else? The Daily Monitor and the Tri-Weekly Observer coming out today on Wednesday. And we're starting it off, of course, looking at the headlines splashing across, all the three newspapers. And of course, it's myself, Simon Kasiate, Joel, and Brian.
Good morning. Good Joel and Brian.
Okay. Swapping these names is always a very nice thing for us to do. So what do we have in the Daily Monitor this morning, Joel?
Makerere Project recruited gays, according to police. You know the Walter Reed Project? Apparently, it was enlisting young people and paying them to engage in unnatural sex. Police is investigating that. They say there is merit to these allegations. We wait to see what happens.
They probably these are the remarks that have been made, yes, by the new police public relations officer, Mr. Fred Enanga. I think we'll like this guy. He's hit the ground running, and he's
your friend.
Fred Enanga is hitting the ground running. I mean, you just appointed the other day, and the next morning you have a headline story attributed to you or whatever, and he has got another story that we'll be looking at inside the Daily Monitor. He says that the Walter Reed's project was infiltrated by the police, undercover cops in there pretending to be one of the guys they recruited, and one of the things that this project was doing was showing these young men videos of other men performing homosexual acts, and then of course encouraging them to come with their partners. The United States Embassy in Uganda, who are the biggest funders of this project, have denied these allegations, calling them fabrications.
Well, and I should be worried because I'm thinking the policemen that infiltrated might have also been infiltrated. Hopefully these videos also don't leak because it seems like everything that gets into police hands leaks.
Yeah. Talking about leaking, the Observer newspaper this morning hits us with a screaming headline: new tape leaks, back of false prophet Mbabazi, General Kale Kayihura warns youths. This is what is the gist of the matter in the leaked tapes that are depicting Police Chief General Kale Kaihura having a discussion with a number of youths, a discussion that, well, some would argue was a police investigation, others would say is a political pep talk.
He seems worried. I could see him, I saw his demeanor, and I think this took him by surprise, you know, for the IGP to have your, you know, treasured possession like that one leaking. It comes as a goof. I don't know.
Is he in trouble? Well, we had the mighty United States of America, which prides itself in having the tightest security checks, getting themselves in the international spotlight when some of their cables moving from one diplomatic mission to another were leaked by a whistleblower. And this is not once, but perhaps even twice for the most part. So clearly,
it does happen, but when it happens, you're thinking, how did we not see this coming?
Well, maybe it's because they were not using Uganda Telecom modes of communication, because Uganda Telecom, your favorite, of course, telecommunication service, is our new sponsor here on this wonderful show, bringing to you live the updates of what's happening in the news this morning. Uganda Telecom.
Kaihura being, you know, in this kind of mess right now, does it dent the possibility of him continuing to be IGP? Because it kind of seems like a mistake after mistake after mistake.
I don't think it does. I think according to the powers that be, he has done a lot more good. He has clamped down opposition rallies. He's really literally done everything, you know.
Better than Wamala Katumba.
I do not know. Actually, many people respected Wamala Katumba a great deal. Even now as army chief, they thought he was this calm giant that operated with reason. You've had people say that, as opposed to Kaihura, who seems to be yellow in and out. And it's not evil to be
wait
yellow.
a minute. The other one operated with reason. Unlike Kaihura, according to some people. Unlike Kaihura, who operates yellow in. So yellow means unreasonable?
Well, if your modus operandi is going to be subjected to a seeming inclination to a party, then you're not operating with reason. You're being biased.
Maybe we are judging Kaihura wrongly. We're looking at the person who appointed him to that office. Why do you think the president chose to pick one of his former political commissars, to pick one of his former military assistants, one of very active political giants to lead the police at the point when he led it? You see, you must understand, we do not understand what his terms of reference were. Certainly.
We should understand them. He's the IGP.
Is clamping on opposition one of his deliverables?
Perhaps.
You would expect, but you see, the point here...
And clamping down on Mbabazi certainly falls within the bigger ambit of clamping down on opposition. So clearly you can say this man has performed and perhaps even exceeded his set terms of reference.
I don't know, because we Ugandans have a different expectation. As IGP, he's supposed to serve all of us, because this is not an NRM position. So if the public out there sees him as serving NRM interests, by the way, even if he's not, you know, just a mere perception of it all is not a good thing.
Well, we have a report coming in from the Observer this morning saying that Catholic hospitals will not discriminate homosexuals. Now, I think I'm getting a little bit fed up here with this homosexual and discrimination talk. I do not think that anyone discriminates against these people here.
I about to call them a what?
I have very good friends who are gay, openly gay, some of them undercover gay. I don't discriminate against them. I do not know where. I have gone to hospitals, I've gone to service delivery places, and no one asks you whether you are gay or not. Name, age, sex. You can answer whether you're male or female, or you have it twice a week. It doesn't matter how you interpret the word
Actually,
sex.
there's a guy who apparently under that sex, he wrote in Busimaya 5 times a
bollocks
week.
by homosexuals claiming that they are discriminated against. Do they go carrying a label of homosexual on their on the forehead? They should stop crying victim and go about with their own business in the closet of their house.
This is the man who was speaking seemingly from the other side.
No,
of
I mean, I just don't
understand.
understand them. I mean, this whole crying victim all the time. I have never seen heterosexuals claiming that they're being discriminated in a restaurant for hell's sake. When I'm going to serve at the Serena, no one asks me whether I'm sleeping with a man or a woman.
I see your point. I see your point. But you see, it's a well-orchestrated plan. It's a well-orchestrated plan for them to appear as victims, so that they can, you know, there can be some kind of international outcry and that kind of thing.
The
they know what they're doing.
I know are benefiting immensely. I mean, for them, it's
not
just a way of life. In fact, it is just a business for whole. I mean, I dare them. I dare them. I invite them.
And we are good at daring people.
Exactly. They are doing this not because it's a way of life. I mean, I can understand having sexual stamina and you know, all this that drives you to have sex with a similar person.
Children,
I understand, but
they go to school.
No, they should be in school.
They should be in school. But
all right,
I've warned you guys on this show, and I've told you, you know, following the US saying we shall not give visas to anyone who is against homosexuality. The Bible, which is the
best book in the world says
bestseller ever.
Bestseller. Well, it refers, you don't have to. I hate homosexuality,
but I don't hate
the
homosexual.
Sure, yeah, many of us have homosexual friends, but homosexuality as an act is out of the question
for you. But you see now, wait for the social media backlash to this particular clip of this show. They are very good at holding people at ransom. They are the most intolerant people I know, yet they demand that they be tolerated. I mean,
that's why we need to dig in our heels, stand by whatever it is that we say and move on. Here we are told enrollment in USE schools rises amid limited funding. Now, I've said it here before that as much as we are gearing up for quantity education, we need to make sure it's quality education. It's not enough to have so many children going to school, and what are they doing? They're sitting under trees. They're taught by one teacher who comes in for 1 hour. Understandably so, because they're human. They can't teach all subjects the whole day, and they go for months without pay. I think we need to do a lot more. It's not enough to say we're having enrollment levels going up. Can we actually add value to this kind of teaching, education?
Well, there we have it. Of course, no day goes by in the newspapers these days without talk about the Mbabazi issue versus President Museveni. And in the red paper this morning, Besigye, you know him, Dr. Kiza Besigye, of course, he said, and I quote, "We are closely talking to Mbabazi." Now, good thing.
Give us evidence.
As the Jamaicans say, big things are going. Well, in the Daily Monitor this morning, police, and of course, yes, issued by our very good friend Enanga, says that there are no plans whatsoever to summon, interrogate, or in fact, even arrest Mrs. Jacqueline Mbabazi. There's been a lot of speculation.
Not eat his words.
Yes, because let's also not forget that Mrs. Mbabazi is not above the law. If today she commits a crime, she will be arrested as of the crime she's committed now. But Enanga is saying they will not arrest her on the account of what she's been saying around.
So this should have been there are no plans for now to arrest Mbabazi. Interesting thing here happening. The RDCs at Chankwanzi are undergoing indoctrination. I like to think it is. And Honorable Tumwebaze here says RDCs are not partisan.
Did you call that indoctrination?
That's what I think it is.
Let's inform our viewers here that before we started this show, we did dry runs of this show for about a year. At least personally, we did dry runs for this show for a year before it came on air. Call it indoctrination. We don't care. But we're just perfecting our skill. How about turning the same for the RDCs?
Yeah, they're indoctrinating them.
No,
very good at whatever. But let me ask you, I like to think that Brian and Simon, you guys are very well informed, yeah? Now, for me, I'm a little bit confused. Tell me, what is the role of RDCs? What is their job description? Because you see, sometimes you see them doing work of LC5 chairmen, sometimes you see them doing work of DPCs, sometimes you see them doing work of MPs. It's a little bit confusing. I don't know if people can help me and some confused Ugandans out there. What is the job description of an RDC?
When you see the president getting down solving land wrangles, solving family matters, going down to articulating on matters of badly made roads, involving himself even in corporate management of certain government, attending funerals and the like, it means that the government, the president himself is doing everything that comes before him that he's got time for. And who are RDCs? RDCs are representatives of the president wherever they are. So they try to do what the president would have done if he were there in person. Does that answer your question?
I've heard that a lot. I thought you were going to tell me something.
A jack of all trades.
I like to think so. But look, you see what you've been adumbrating, land wrangles. I thought that's the police supposed to be doing that, because many times we've actually had allegations that, they are in cahoots with certain big people, throwing people off their land, or sometimes they are on the reverse.
The other day, the new RDC for Kampala was at Mulago talking about the water situation. And I thought, this is a national issue. Shouldn't we have the minister here?
It is my submission. And well, what about it? Let me make this submission. It is my submission that RDCs in this country are a waste of taxpayers' money.
Tempestuous.
You can add all those very good words. Yeah? Because you see, at the end of the day, who are these people being appointed? Apparently it is Public Service Commission that recommends them. We are seeing people who have failed in elections in NRM primaries. We are seeing people who have failed,
But that's stigmatization. We have all in our lives at one time or other failed to attain certain heights that we've clamored for. Should that stop NTV from employing us simply because
without a doubt, but see, this is public office, and you see that is why many times they operate partisanly, as we tend to see them to operate.
I mean, you have made several attempts at joining the holy institution of marriage. Should anyone stop you from being employed in public office? I mean, I have failed several times to attain a PhD, for example. Should anyone victimize me and stop me from appointing me somewhere as a junior minister for education? I mean, we should not
now
stigmatize.
that you have made
Why should we have a mockery of you being a junior
that
minister?
example is tangential to this in very many ways.
Well, Kaihura cash gifts to youth worry MPs. This is playing out in the Observer this morning. Of course, let's remind you that this particular segment of Morning at NTV is sponsored by UTR. Now, Inspector General of Police is handing out cash gifts to youth. Members of Parliament are worried. Ask your question again. What exactly is the police chief supposed to do?
You see how it keeps...
But talking about the same MPs who are worried of the Inspector General of Police handing out cash gifts, there is a report that bribery claims rock MP's Somalia trip. Members of Parliament who took a trip to Somalia recently are now in the spotlight, and there are claims of bribery to them. Now, who bribed them? The Somalis, the Al-Shabaab? It's all playing out here in the Observer. Get yourself a copy and get to the bottom of this.
Some have actually complained time and again that, you see, we are not given trips, we are just operating here in Kampala. But you see, they were voted to legislate here in Kampala.
Let's also pass on our congrats to Prince Kasim Nakiminge, who is now Dr. Prince Kasim Nakiminge. I hope the doctor doesn't erase the prince. No. Here we are. It's an honorary. It's an honorary one, but of course, the story is playing out here in the Observer. You know that Prince Nakiminge is the titular head of the Muslim community in Uganda. He's got an honorary doctorate of philosophy from the University of Lahore in Pakistan.
And why? Well, you seem a little bit ambivalent about that. But you see, they are good because they get to recognize people for one or two things that they do. Of course, in our old Mzee Wakazi friend, Mugabe, all of them were, ripped off of him after he behaved in a manner that didn't apparently seem so PhD-like.
Right.
Now, here in the Monitor, Minister urges voters in Acholi to back 2016 polls extension. This is Minister for Relief and Disaster Preparedness, Mr. Hilary Onek. He says apparently this will help government to, prepare, and also the legislature to fulfill whatever it is that they made as promises. Remember that time when you were saying government said that they are not...
behind this?
Okay.
This is how it all starts. Now, I think as we conclude this, let's get into the sports part of our discussion this morning.
Before we get there, quickly, and if you can catch it, if you missed the speech of the president at the genocide memorial in Rwanda, Daily Monitor has it here, and I quote, "As a veteran patriot of this area, I would like to warn those who hobnob with the genocidians to know that they will have to contend with the patriotic forces that defeated the traitors with their external backers. We are now much stronger in every sense of the word."
You heard it, the president of Uganda making a clear message just like that was sent out by President Kagame to those in whose language he said, facts remain facts. Well, here we have it. Well, as we conclude, I love the red paper for its gossip. An interesting gossip story which they flagged on the front page. Member of Parliament Proscovia Alengot, the white lady from the other constituency, pitted as the youngest member of Parliament there has been in Uganda, allegedly wedded secretly in a mosque. So her name possibly may have to change from Proscovia to something else. Amina. Well, you have it is playing out in the red paper. Well, I think she got more than just her bargain. You are pursuing a degree at the university, you win an MP seat. What else is left for a young girl like her? Get married, perhaps even to more than one man.
Finish school.
Well, I mean, if an ordinary girl marries one man, why should an MP?
There was a rumor that she has so many retakes. So,
well, what do you expect of? Well, there we have it. How about the sports before we close this down?
Well, last night was Champions League and Madrid and
okay. What are you editing?
Well, let's start from.
But tonight, Man U will play Bayern Munich.
Well, let's also not.
Slaughtered.
This will be given to you later in the sports section of this show. But of course, let's not forget that Chelsea did pass through the next stage of the Champions League.
It was very nice to see Mourinho run around for.
Well, Mourinho in the after game
run around in jubilation.
Oh, please.
No, well, Mourinho in the after game press conference said this was not a run per se, it was a tactical run. He was moving to the players to inform them of how they should play in the next minutes before they concede a goal and level the score. So Mourinho says, well, that was a tactical run. But also he ended by saying, at least now you know that I can run. He sure can, can't he? Well, Manchester United today has got a Herculean task of beating the Bavarians. It is a nail-biting experience. And well, as they normally say it, ladies, you'll allow the men to come in a little bit late because the match is going to be played a bit late. And then, of course, after the match, there is always post-match analysis, which may take the form of people having
but someone need to run home very quickly to be massaged by their wives and consoled, depending on how things go.
No. Many times they are massaged by the bottom. Well, there we have it, the press review this morning, brought to you proudly by Uganda Telecom, your favorite telco. And of course, it is partnering with us, your #1 morning press review show.
Star 100 hash, select Chize and get the total amount you spend in a month refunded. This refund can be used for calls and SMSs to all networks for the next 30 days from Uganda's most affordable telecom service. Uganda Telecom. It's all about you.
Every idea we have begins with you. The way you connect.
Morning.
How you browse, how you share, and how you interact with the world around you.
The relationship with your God is the most important thing. Have a company of people who have got a similar mind.
How do you want people to think, feel, and act after your talk? In other words, what's your objective?
You inspire everything. Because in the end, innovation doesn't really matter unless it does something that really matters to you. And we are HTC.
The task that we had ahead of us was to transform Kampala, take it from where it had fallen for so many years and create a city that we can all be proud of. Right now, we are in the process of recruiting an international company to manage our solid waste right from production up to recycling and generation of power and recycling the garbage into other products. We are finishing the construction of Lubigi Channel, which is addressing the flooding in Bwaise.
We have been able to construct a sewer line along Kafumbe-Mukasa Road. This sewer line has been very problematic and was preventing the rehabilitation of Kafumbe-Mukasa Road because it was always oozing sewage and it lies almost in the middle of the road. This road is expected to be handed over in March this year.
On the next episode of Destiny River.
Because I miss Antonina.
Antonina is no longer here, Max.
We both know it has to be forgotten.
I can't forget that. I don't want to forget.
Oh, are you still awake, Mom?
It's late to be awake, right? Especially late to be awake and kissing a stranger outside my house while your fiancé is calling you from another country.
Destiny River.
Ekifo ekimu kisawa musu n'ekyalo ekiweddeko abamanye bakiraza mumwa. Tugenda kutuuka gy'oli oyogere naffe ebikwata ku kyalo kyo, embeera mw'okolera, ebyobufuzi, ebyobulamu n'ensonga endala nnyingi. Ebyogerwa tebiyita. Tuusa eddoboozi lyo, yogera naffe buli Lwakuna butereevu ku NTV akawungeezi.
Bana NTV ate naddala mu bannaamu muli gw'emizannyo. Muli gw'ebyemizannyo gukomyewo 2014 ate mutya. Kati ate gukyusiza n'obudde. Kati gwa 7 kitundu gwali gwa 9 ne mugugoberera ntusanyuka. Kati gulongereddeko wano malya g'ebyemisana awo. Kusooka guwa taizi gubaletire bintu kyonna kalenda n'ebyemizannyo. Muli gw'ebyemizannyo mupya 2014 Isima waali alagira Argentina yende mukubira eddiba lye omukwano gujja kukomawo ku muli gw'emizannyo naye kasita kinatuuka eri bano ba Messi okulumba abalenzi baffe ga Thiago Silva awo tewali mukwano omuli gw'emizannyo 2014 president
everybody in parliament as long as they can wake up and vote for the NRM.
As long as the voters exercise their rights to elect their leaders, there was no need for term limits in Uganda.
I know him. I know how he operates. I know how he thinks.
There are ways you can go around these obstacles.
Why should I conduct myself as if I am MUI?
It's absolutely true. I admired President Museveni.
Is the ICC a farcical court targeting African leaders?
You cannot tell me that the whole trouble Kenya had revolved about only two individuals.
The money is not in the budget of this financial year.
You can't beat God. You see, God is polygamous also. Look at Jeremiah chapter 31. The security of this country will largely depend on the contribution that the people make.
You're watching Morning at NTV with Simon Kasiate, Mabel Kebirunji, and Brian Munondo.
You're still watching Morning at NTV this beautiful Wednesday morning. A picture here of Brian looking very dapper. A new word he learnt not too long ago. But here is a picture that we took earlier during the press review, and some of your comments. Alan Mwezi says, great press review, guys. And Kintu Harrison says, the homosexuals are also people, so they should be left. It's upon one's brains to decide to be or not to be. They should be respected. And Isaac Bakuti says he cannot wait. And to some other messages, Henry Ojok says, I am happy with the show, especially when inspirational people are brought to inform and inspire the public, like Ethan Mussolini, Dr. Monica, and Pastor Mayambala, who also happens to be Golola's brother. Please bring also General Otafire so that he spits fire, and make sure you inform him early so that you can actually catch him. And Tamia Queen says, every morning I'm always glued to NTV such that I don't miss out on any topic. Can't wait for the show to start. Thanks for the inspiration. I love everyone there. Well, thank you so much for your messages. We now return to Simon for today's big story.
Best deal for their country.
Exactly. Not your fault.
Officials, yes, they made the best deal for themselves and not for the country. And if there's anyone to reprimand, certainly it's the government officials then.
And some of them are still there.
Yes. Well, here we are with a big story this morning on this wonderful Wednesday morning. Very sunny, coming to you from the rooftop of the Kampala Serena Hotel. The topic discussed, of course, is a very emotive one for most Ugandans, but it touches on regional integration and, of course, touches on regional trade, which in essence, to break down all these so many words, we're talking about money this morning. Uganda used to earn an estimated $1 billion per annum in trade with South Sudan. Yes, that's true. $800 million was from formal trade, while the other 300 came in from about, the realms of informal trade.
Yeah.
We also had more than 1,000 trucks that used to export merchandise to South Sudan per week. Now, these have dropped to about 100, 150. This has, of course, given us a blow below the belt, if you want to use that expression. And today we're going to look at the adverse effects this has had on especially those Ugandans who directly traded with South Sudan, but of course many of us who benefited from the ripple down effect. And who else to discuss this wonderful development other than the Minister of Trade and Industry herself? Good morning and welcome to the big story on Morning at NTV, Honorable Amelia Chambade.
Thank you very much, Simon. Thank you very much for hosting me.
We'll take it on from this point in time for you to make us understand from where you sit exactly how deep-reaching and, of course, deeply affecting this situation of the South Sudan turmoil has had on trade and commerce in Uganda.
Yes. Indeed, South Sudan has had a very severe negative impact on our economy. At the moment, the manufacturers who are exporting to South Sudan have lost, have lost a lot. Actually, they're still computing, but they believe that it could be almost $1 trillion
shillings.
Because they've been exporting all these manufactured goods like iron sheets, like bars, iron bars.
In fact, for a country like South Sudan, where there was no industry, no agriculture, we've been exporting them even the smallest of agricultural products, like beans.
Yes, like beans, like fruits. But I wouldn't want to sit here and lament.
Absolutely.
Because there is another route. DRC is another route with the same demands. DRC requires all our agricultural goods. They require all our manufactured goods. And the advantage is that DRC is the chair of COMESA. So recently, when we were handing over the chair to DRC, we emphasized the fact that it is very important for them to create a conducive environment for our traders, especially as far as cross-border trade is concerned.
But well, Honorable Minister, of course, with South Sudan themselves, they know full well that the best they could have done is create a conducive environment for Ugandan traders to ply trade there, because we've supported them in more ways than one. But look at this. We've lost this in recurring trade, but we also have dates that are yet to be cleared by the governments of South Sudan. We read in the newspapers recently that President Museveni did read out the Riot Act, his counterpart of South Sudan. But from where you stand as Ministry of Trade, is there any concerted effort that you are seeing from where you sit of the South Sudanese government going to honor the dates they owe to Ugandan traders?
Yes.
Because it's one thing to move to DRC, but many traders would even argue that they have now no capital to invest to the DRC route because much of their capital is locked up in dates in South Sudan.
Okay, as far as the the date of Ugandans is concerned, we had advanced, we had engaged the ministers in that country, we had prepared a cabinet paper, but fortunately the president also consulted, instructed actually, requested.
Which word is this? Instructed, requested?
Requested sounds better. Requested Salva Kiir. And Salva Kiir accepted and said that he would handle all those dealers, especially the grain dealers, who all the claimants. He would handle all the claimants, but they would categorize them according to those who are working with government first, then the other sector would be handled as well.
Let's look at how this informal trade, there's that formal trade of people who are dealing with government. Then there's the informal trade where we had young men going in there to ride borders, make Rolex chapatis on the streets, and also carry out all the other menial jobs. These are now people who have been relegated to joblessness in this country. From a perspective of government, even before they take on opportunities in the DRC and other places that you've advised them to, don't they pose a certain big threat to the fact that you need to provide to these people?
We need to write to them, but it's very difficult with the informal sector because you do not know how much this guy has actually invested in.
Or even lost for that.
Or even lost. But for those, we had a committee, we had a joint committee where we registered the claimants who had documents.
Also, those without documents?
So those without documents, it's very difficult to handle that.
Let's just be plain and blunt. It was just a bad day for them.
But maybe after the conflict, because the ones you're talking about, like the border, these are people who came in after, mainly during the time
when there wasn't so much war.
But still, it's very difficult to compute.
But Honorable Minister, let's look at this other comparison. There's of course a lot of talk that goes about that Uganda goes in, pacifies South Sudan, plays a very vital role into their independence, and then on the other hand, you get Kenya, for example, our counterparts to the east, going in there and taking the huge businesses, setting up banks, doing insurance brokerage, while for us we relegated to sending in grain and riding borders. Is there a concerted effort on your part as government to ensure that Uganda moves in big, strong and better so that we have viable, strong businesses in South Sudan that may not be affected by political turmoil? Because I'm sure KCB Bank is still operating in South Sudan, never mind the turmoil in there. We are sure that the huge insurance companies set up by our Kenyan counterparts are working, never mind the turbulence. Why don't we go into some more serious business than
that is what we have advised the business community, that they should form associations. Even these claims, they used to come in as individuals until we told them to form an association of claimants, and that has had an impact on the magnitude of their claims. But at that time, they're coming in as individuals. I would have about 50 or 100 people coming
lining up in your office,
lining up as individuals.
Saying the same story.
Yes, but fortunately now, they formed an association. So that is the advantage the Kenyans had. They went in as groups, they went in as associations, and remember,
they went in even as government.
As government. And remember, ours, we are over-privatized, we are over-liberalized. Most of these Kenyans, government has shares, most of the Kenya businesses, government has shares in those businesses. They have banks, they have insurance companies, they have a lot of shares in these companies. So they go in as
government entities.
Government, yes, as government
which
entities.
have got a stronger voice
and
have a higher bargaining power.
Whereas here in Uganda, we have over-privatized, we have over-liberalized. So all these companies, all these companies are privately owned. So that's why
Is that supposed to light a light bulb in your head as government and say,
yes,
I think it's high time we get into
It's high time we started buying shares in companies and having shares in companies. For example, even utilities. Look at the problems we have with
ESCOM, for example.
ESCOM. Conflict of interest, Simon.
No, I always declare that here. Talking of which, the viewers, many of them know that I did work.
Look at the challenges we have with ESCOM. With Umeme. If it was a government body or a government company, it wouldn't have those problems. That's why you find that the water body is stable, because government still has a grip on it. So that is the advantage Kenya has. And we need to reverse some of our policies. We need a policy reversal, because we have over-liberalized our economy.
Policy reversal only after our concession agreement is done, right? Well, moving away from the issue of trade in South Sudan, of course, regional trade, we're looking at yet another aspect in your docket that's rearing its head once again. Recently, traders held government at ransom, so to speak, and threatened to go on a strike and boycott so many other things as a result of you imposing that pre-import verification of commodities, or what people call PVOC. I don't know whether I pronounce it very well.
Yes.
It's now rearing its head once again. Help me understand from where I sit why traders would say no to government as government moves ahead to create an environment to bring in quality goods for its citizens and the consumption of which.
Yes. First and foremost, you must, Simon, you must have been aware that the entire market was flooded with substandard goods.
It still is, Honorable Minister.
And it is still. But
I have Sony radios where the O is a Q, Scony. So, I have got pens that you barely can write your name before it runs out. You've got shirts that you only wear before you get to the wedding, it's already in shreds. You've got shoes before you can walk a kilometer, your toes are peeping out.
Yes. So we realize that UNBS does not have the capacity to curb the substandard goods on the market now. Government realized that we need to control these substandard goods from the point of origin. So, and we introduced PVOC. That was way back, but people resisted it. And we halted it
because they know that they bring standard goods.
That is one.
And they charge we the consumers the price of the genuine good.
Yes.
Which is outright daytime robbery.
And then they also wanted to avoid taxes.
Like always want to do all the
once you control this, then you definitely, it spills over to the revenue authority.
Absolutely.
So they wanted to continue with this informal trade regime. So what we're doing now is we're trying to formalize the trade regime. And by formalizing the trade regime, you have to control the substandard goods from the point of origin. And eventually we settled for that, and people are doing very well. But what we have discovered, that the substandard goods actually were so many that were coming in, and we've controlled so many from coming in. But so recently, the vehicles, second-hand vehicles do not want to undergo that verification from there. They're saying, you verify us from here.
When they're already here.
When they're already here.
This is substandard, how do you take it back?
Exactly.
Or they will put it on the government bill.
Exactly.
Now, government, since you say this is not worth it, take it back yourselves.
But you can't even take it back.
Absolutely.
So we are insisting, because we have discovered 45% are radiated. 45% that have been
given the calamity in Japan, for example,
radiated.
Absolutely.
Yes.
And that's subjecting Ugandans to yet another source of cancer, which is already an epidemic.
Exactly. So we have stood firm.
Are you actually standing firm? Because there is, I get the sense that Uganda is being held at ransom by, the government is being held at ransom by these traders. They have a very strong, Casita, for example, chooses when to strike and when not to strike because you've told them to put in place standard goods as opposed to their substandard goods.
And yet they are the ones who are complaining about the substandard goods.
That's what they want to have their cake and eat it. Yes. Now you see motor vehicle importers trying to hold government at ransom. No. Can't you crack the whip once and for all?
We have handled it. We had a deal, and they came in with issues. Like there are few numbers of PVOC service providers. They say that where they buy the vehicles from, there are no service providers, so they have to ferry them from one point to another. So we are establishing them. We have told these service providers, these are the main shopping centers for cars. You better have an officer there.
Does Uganda actually need second-hand cars here, Honorable Minister, given the level of pollution and ozone depletion that we are contributing to? So why don't you pass a policy as government, like they did in Kenya, to have vehicles particular models phased out completely? Of course, that would render me carless, because clearly, if you said any car from 2000 and above don't hit the street, any car from 2000 below don't hit the streets, obviously we'll go back.
We'll get there. We'll get there, but let us control. We're looking at that in maybe 3-4 years. We'll get there, because what we have noticed is that there are so many vehicles on the high seas, and some are already here. So let me tell you what we have agreed. They are complaining of a high surcharge of 15% on CIF value for uninspected vehicles, because if you don't have it inspected there, we charge you 15% of the cost. So they wanted us to carry out inspection here. So what did we resolve as a ministry? I'll give you a copy of this. That all vehicles currently in the bond and the vehicles that will enter the country by 31st May shall be inspected by UNBS here. Yes. So we've given them a leeway up to 31st.
And someone would want to ask quickly whether one UNBS has the capacity to inspect them, or whether they have the integrity to investigate them. Now these are two different things: capacity and then integrity.
I've been trying to work on integrity.
Yes, we saw you getting, as soon as you got into the ministry, you carried out a purge and kicked out a number of people.
It wasn't easy.
Yes, and so at least
at least 70%. I can boast of that.
That's a good.
The second one is we have waived the 15% penalty on CIF value up to 31st May. Yes.
After that, you restated.
After that, we reinstated. For those vehicles that fail the inspection test, the importer will be given 30 days to correct it. If you fail, it is destroyed. But now that is also yes. If you fail to do that
and integrity to destroy these vehicles.
But that is also dangerous for our environment.
Absolutely.
That is another area.
So that needs to be further discussed. Maybe you take it back at their cost and inconvenience.
So any bond found with radioactive vehicles shall be asked to dispose them off outside Uganda. Now we're banned from doing business in Uganda. So that is also very tricky.
So you're putting in place certain stringent conditions to ensure that if anyone intends on doing illicit trade here with regard to motor vehicle importation, they risk being kicked out.
Yes.
Let's move on.
Another point, quickly. Vehicles without certificate of roadworthiness shall not be allowed to enter.
Well, I think on the other hand, you also need to have certificates of car worthiness for most of the roads here. Because you claim that roads are not, cars are not not roadworthy.
Yes.
But I see many roads in this country that are not car worthy. My car cannot move on certain roads in this country. I don't find those.
No, we're working on that, Simon. Be patient.
Oh, well.
Unless most of the roads that are going out of the city have been worked on.
Well, I find myself confined to the city, so can you also handle me in the city? Yes. The city also love to have wonderful roads.
No, fortunately, KCC
having
is doing
wonderful
a good job.
boulevards going out of the city, many of which we take to bury our dear ones.
No, we're getting there. We're getting there, Simon.
Let's move very quickly as we conclude this to the issue of Busoga cooperatives. I mean, many people are watching us now live from Bale, and they've seen you pay them a visit, and of course that's coming on the heels of an allegation that government moved in very quickly to try and kill this very profitable cooperative union that has, for the most part, empowered this part of the country and this group of people who subscribe to it. You were there recently, reassured them of government support and all that. But let me just take you back briefly. What were the problems in there that government had come in quickly to sort out? And how have they been sorted out to allow you, government, now to align with them?
So there were a lot of petitions against BCU. For example, mismanagement, mainly mismanagement, selling of properties, selling of coffee at very low prices, and yet the prices were supposed to be, there were standard prices. And then we halted, government came in and halted, took over and suspended. The first board was sacked. Second board was suspended. Second board was the one of Nandala Mafavi. So we started investigations. And after investigations, we discovered a number of issues. About we discovered that there were lack of clear operational guidelines.
So in other words, this was operating as some kind of quasi-formal institution without proper good governance structures. So are they in place now?
Yes, they're in place.
And you are sure that now they mean business?
Yes, we are working together.
How about expanding this to allow for other places which had cooperatives also emanate? People are always complaining
we are rolling out.
Killed cooperative unions.
It is true.
The Banyankore Equatorial was killed.
Yes.
And all the other places. So are we saying that now with Busoga Cooperative Union, given a green light and a clean bill of health, you will allow others to sprout out?
No, we are rolling out. We don't stop them, but we have to solve a number of problems. They have disputes. So of course we are rolling out Sebei now. That is our next stop.
Okay.
From there we're going to Masaka. From there we're going to Mitiana. All these have challenges.
And
so the government has agreed to compensate them because all these
for
unions
the lost time.
For the lost time, but also
income.
lost property.
Absolutely.
Mainly lost property. Because remember, all these vehicles and premises were used during the war.
Absolutely.
So unions are going to be compensated. So that is also one of the priorities of
Honorable Minister, of course, your docket of trade and industry, if we were to discuss every bit about it, would be here till the cows come home to roost. But clearly we know that this is the SMS of TV where we have it short and punchy. And we thank you for joining us. Let's take a short break. When we return, it's Simon Says.
Thank you very much.
Like blood does run our systems as a body, many people have argued that industry, commerce, and of course trade do run a country or a people or a polity for that matter. And so the docket of trade, industry, and of course commerce is a very important and pivotal one with regard to national development. Question is, are we handling it to the best way to deliver this kind of much desired development? If we do not, what are the ramifications of this? Of course, for the most part, a country like Uganda has relied largely on tokens of donations from our development partners. But in coming into force of a situation where some donors are pulling out, we need to look them in the face and say we can stand our ground and be able to earn the minimum balance and give ourselves the basic livelihood that we as a people can afford. Now, of course, previously before that, there were discussions on whether trade or aid should be the way to go. Now, all these come into play and we ask ourselves one question. We are also moving into a bigger polity, which is the East African community. We are looking at, in fact, for the ambitious ones, the Africa Union. Is Uganda positioning itself on a position where they're able to trade and earn from trade from all these blocks that we happen to be a member of so that we can earn dividends that will benefit the development of this country? All these are questions that provide me even more questions than answers that I can provide. But it's a moment for you and I to ponder and ask ourselves one question. To what extent are we contributing to the trade, industry and commerce of this country, which will in essence have a trickle-down effect on our own livelihoods? Have a wonderful Wednesday morning. It's brightly sunny. Make sure you use it profitably and of course stay healthy. Good morning.
Good morning. Thank you.
These are the men who cheated death in a blazing train wagon.
I got a room in that wagon where it is a hall.
Behind me is the spot where over 70 people lost their lives.
The widows that tell the story like it was yesterday.
Alafu nyuma yake kama ashakufa. Waliua bwana yangu huko.
Those with psychological scars.
They started killing me. 300 strokes.
The perspective of a former rebel that is now an acclaimed hero.
It was just a provocation. The field commander, that was Francis Erego, nicknamed Hitler.
And a counselor with no sight but a broad vision. We bring you stories of deep emotion, shattered dreams, despair, and inspiration. Starting this April on Life Stories.
a wife who you got through the office will be very insecure about you working in another place.
Always hunt up, don't hunt down.
You mean what? Go after your superior?
How dare you suggest that when a woman is aggressed against, we should look at the person who's been aggressed against?
Let the couple be. Let them sort out their issues. When they need you, then you come in.
Prostitution is being given a new brand.
All I know is that I connect people.
Let's not choose to open our zips and do whatever our urge is, because I don't think that an urge is stronger than your will to say no.
People attach a lot of questions, shame to HIV.
I do not believe that when you wear a short dress, you should be around.
Marrying a wife is like having assured sex.
Anytime you come, you must have.
Yes.
We raise a population that has no clue how to be men.
Can you bring out a quality family?
I don't get married for my family.
Men, every Wednesday only on NTV.
50 people, 50 days, one task.
An incredible journey of 10,000 kilometers to deliver a taste of home to Humphrey Kayange in London.
A journey you can be part of. We're looking for 25 people to say Twende Kazi and join the Tusker 25 on this mission.
Join me.
Join me.
Join me. Join me.
Join me. Join us and be a part of Africa's most epic TV show. Twende Kazi.
Asimwe, we are bringing your drink. Okay, don't worry. Sentence where them court yangu.
Sentence.
So what him?
Sawanya demo mwenge.
Hani kutamu. Nkuunyirira bwanze nja kukuba.
Tonna kusasula myezi ebiri ja nyumba gye batubanja. Oli mukunywa mwenge n'abakazi.
Kikulu nnyo fe abeewola okumanya zi banka n'abatuwola engeri gye babalamu amagoba.
Lwaki obuuza ekibuuzo ekyo?
Sente zaabwe.
Dembe lyo ekyo kikulu nnyo okukimanya. Onfuna kikulu nnyo okusooka okunoonyereza tusobole okwetegereza n'okwekkaanya. Okifuna amagoba n'oluvannyuma tulondeko amagoba agasinzeeko okuba amatono.
On the next episode of Login.
This week in Login.
Sudhir Raparelia, chairman of Raparelia Group, has officially been named 24th richest man in Africa and richest in East Africa.
Escucha de mi canción, ay, recházame, es que no puedo aceptar.
Login. You're watching Morning at NTV with Simon Kasiate, Mabel Kebirunji and Brian Munondo.
It's 9 minutes after 8 o'clock. Thank you so much for staying with us. And if you're just joining us on your television, in your office or at home or in your car or online, youtube.com/NTV Uganda /live. Thank you. This Wednesday, about 2 days to Friday. Yes, that's what helps us, some of us get through the week. We count the days to the weekend. Now, before the break, we had Honorable Amelia Chambade, Minister of Trade, talking about, issues of South Sudan and also other trade concerns, especially when it comes to the concerns that our traders had of inspecting all these goods to make sure that we have original products coming to the country.
Kenya has done some of that stuff, and they are having brand new cars in their countries. Why can't we do that too? Why do we have second-hand vehicles? And she says 45% of second-hand vehicles are radiated. And so it's important for us to stop these cars from coming in. But at the point of origin, where they come from, not them coming to Mombasa, the ports, and they are inspected there. No. Let the traders incur the costs in the countries of origin. She also says we are working on making sure that all the roads in the country are top-notch to improve trade. All right. All the claimants of South Sudan would be handled according to who was working with government first. So priority will go to those that were directly dealing with the government of South Sudan. And UNBS, she goes on to say, UNBS does not have the capacity to curb substandard goods. So we need to curb them at the point of origin. And that's some of the amazing statements that she said. Your feedback on our Twitter handle, which is at morning@NTV. Honorable Amelia Chamba, they're looking really good. When I grow up, I want to be like her. That is that awesomeness. All right. And some of you are agreeing with the minister. The Honorable is right 100%. That is at Elias Center. James Mwanga saying, let's join hands for the best. At Bizimana David Bizimana saying, the vehicle inspection fee will retard development. The radioactive issue is false. Vehicle inspection is a way to raise government revenue. Don't compare Uganda and Kenya, which are far economically. Okay, that's some of your Twitter feedback. Feel free to go to also our Facebook page, Morning at NTV. Now, Mabel will be coming in later to tell us what you have said on our Facebook page. But for now, if you're leaving your office, workplace, ready for a meeting, here is your traffic update. Our clearest view here is Chintu Road, which is always consistently clear, and most of the people walking to work really, borders, and that's all we can do. Really, and this road somehow is definitely good for you whenever you're accessing to Nakumat or Jinja Road or via the National Theatre of the President's Office or going up to through town. You can use this particular road. But we got pictures from Isma in Bukoto. Isma sent a picture from Bukoto. It's on your screen right now. We also had a picture coming in from Ethan from Acacia Avenue over there. You can see it on your picture. And Irene sent a picture from Fairway Hotel. That's very good. Become a traffic reporter by sending those images to 047 16730. That is 047 16730. Alternatively, you can tag us on Twitter and Facebook and let people know. Very soon we are working on something that will give you live minute by minute traffic update. We are very excited, and when it's ready, we'll let you know about that. Also, a reminder that for those of you who are interested in the ESCOM visit, Simon gave you an offer to go and see how power is generated at ESCOM in Jinja. I think he said there's about 10 places missing. So tweet and Facebook and confirm with him on Twitter at Kasiate is his Twitter handle. And it's happening on Friday. After the show, you guys will leave for Jinja. So please confirm there, and you can go and get some of this information. It's good for you. Now, Mabel is standing by with your birthday wishes. When I come back, an interesting guest on Everyday Life about empowering women. Good morning.
Happy birthday to you.
It's a beautiful day, and would like to
make your day more beautiful. If it is your birthday, Edgar Semakula, a receptionist at Fairway Hotel, happy birthday to you. I hope you are having a wonderful day at the hotel as you continue to work. And Maliza Moshan, a happy birthday to you too, a student at Uganda Matters University. Not forgetting Sylvester Kabombo, lots of greetings for you, Sylvester. You're a musician and hip-hop coordinator at Bayimba Cultural Foundation. Special greetings from Maureen here at NTV. Well, moving on to the picture here, we have Simon and Amelia Chambade as they were speaking, Honorable Amelia Chambade as the guest on today's big story. And to some of your comments, Kansime says, thanks for the show. NTV makes my morning. And Hilos says, Madam Honorable. Simon, you said it well. Fred Wakida says, South Sudan needs to settle the debt they have with Ugandan businessmen, because in the situation that they are in, they will need an open business route with Uganda. But with the debt standing, they are not only blocking the route, but also putting their natives in danger. Jarvis is asking, why are most Ugandans in Southern Sudan doing casual work? Can't Ugandans do something bigger than riding borders and hawking? Well, to some other messages, Hello Heaven says they are watching Morning at NTV in class. Thumbs up to NTV for sure. The Hilos is in Mengo. Olive Guma says, Amelia, good stuff, especially the cars. Hope it works out. Johnson Kansime says, good morning, Uganda. Good morning, NTV. Allow me to send congratulations to the Guild President-elect of Gulu University, His Excellency Andrew Ogweta Otto. I wish him a successful term in office. NTV, you are the best. And Kabito Esther saying the ministry has done a lot, but more emphasis has to be placed on the issue of counterfeit products. We now return to Brian for today's HTC moment.
We started with the goal of bringing the power of computing into the hands of people around the world. From the beginning, we were designing many of the world's first touch and wireless handheld devices. Reaching out to our partners and setting no limits on innovation, we produced one of the most popular touch experience devices of the time. We were building smartphones before the term smartphone even existed. We then set out to make the most versatile smartphones, including ones that let you use either a touchscreen or a keyboard. We saw the potential of 3G early on and introduced the world's first 3G Windows mobile smartphone. We changed the way you use your fingers. Based on our research into gestures, we gave you the intuitive and easy-to-use HTC Touch. We then announced a new way for you to experience the internet with the world's first Google Android smartphone. To give you the most personal experience, we introduced HTC Sense, a user experience that fundamentally changes the way you use your phone by making things work the way you expect them to. We once more revolutionized the industry by launching the world's first 4G Android smartphone. We integrated Beats Audio into our phones to deliver the most authentic sound experience, enabling people to finally feel the music the way the artist intended. We created a one-of-a-kind phone with an amazing camera that outperforms most point-and-shoot varieties. Most recently, we once again set the industry ablaze with the new HTC One. Critics have hailed the new One with its full metal body design, a live home screen, photos that come to life, and dual frontal speakers as the best Android phone of the year. Curiosity and ingenuity have defined our history, and we're recognized by the industry as one of the world's most innovative brands. We've come a long way, but one thing hasn't changed. It's people like you that inspire us to create the most innovative products in a world that becomes more connected every day.
It's 20 after 8 and we're still at the rooftop of the Kampala Serena Hotel. Thank you so much for staying with us, starting a brilliant Wednesday morning. And I tell you, something I heard on Everyday Life, something good for the women. Men, you need to stay here because it's also concerning you, because you need to help your women get to where they need to be. And HTC proudly powering Everyday Life, quietly brilliant. We've been giving out phones every week, 2 phones every week. HTC Desire 300. We also have the HTC Desire 500. You can head over to the Forest Mall at the HTC Hub and get yourself a phone. I hold abantu bambagana nechapa, but this is an HTC One Max. There's so many apps on this phone. I'm still figuring out most of them. But of course the basics, Twitter, WhatsApp. It has what we call the Polaris Office 5. You can do all your office work on this phone. It has blink feed, where you get a minute by minute update. Yesterday some of us didn't have to watch Pistorius in court. We got live tweets from the court. And so that's what it does. It has a play news stand where you get updated the latest in all the newspapers, whatever you subscribe to. And it's one of the most expensive phones. Voted the best smartphone 2013 at the World Mobile Conference. This is the HTC One Max. There are also other models like the HTC One, the HTC One Gold, and so those are also available at the HTC Hub. Head over there. We'll be drawing more people next week to give out more 2 phones, the HTC Desire 500, which we're still waiting for. And when they get here, you'll get an opportunity to win those phones. And coming up today on Everyday Life, in a country where 40% of businesses are owned by women, what is the opportunity to make sure that they rise up above men, but also what can we do about the stereotype that women are the weaker sex? Coming up on Everyday Life. Good morning.
It's the first thing you see in the morning and the last thing you see at night. It stresses you out. It calms you down. It helps you remember. It helps you forget. It keeps you connected. It's the only thing you own that is always within an arm's reach. Which is why you don't need to get a phone. You need a phone that gets you, and you, and you, and we are HTC.
Everyday Life is brought to you by...
And we are HTC.
The economic and political arena is littered with beautiful, competent queens. And today we're celebrating those and people that are helping them be more relevant, get more self-esteem, and make sure that even us men we can kind of come to the fulfillment of the statement that besides every strong man, there's a stronger woman. Today on the show, I'm very privileged to have hijacked the minister again from the big story. Good morning, Honorable.
Good morning. How
nice
are you,
to see you again.
Thank you very much.
You're one of the most, for lack of a better word, coveted women here. Every woman wants to be like you.
Oh, really?
They've seen your journey, and now where you are quite an inspiration to many women.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
And of course, Lydia from Winning Choices. Yes. Good morning.
Good morning,
Lydia.
Amuge.
Mrs.
No.
Not yet. Okay, we shall
work
about
together. Melandria here.
I have So I guess some single men are also watching. Thank you so much, ladies, for joining me.
Yes.
First of all, I'll ask the minister. This government has been hailed a lot for helping women and given space to women to do whether it's in business, politics, education. Women are excelling. Where have women come from in the past 20 years?
Well, first of all, let's just look at the population. It's about 51% of Uganda. So you have about 17.8 million women out of 34 million. But less than 12% of these economically active women are in informal, gainful employment. Of course, some are in agriculture, some are in businesses, and others are self-employed. But we also boast of a large population of politicians and also professionals, because like among the engineers, I understand we have a sizable number of about 100 women engineers
in the country.
In the country, which is incredible. It's an achievement, because that is a job we used to consider as a male-dominated environment, and we thought it was quite hostile. So as much as we have achieved all that, we must also look at the government interventions, because government has taken a very affirmative stand in promoting the woman.
Right.
Of course, you know, most of them, for example, UPE, we know when we talk about UPE, people say, no, that one is irrelevant. But remember, it has rescued these women, the girls who are not going to school out of social-cultural issues. Because people are saying, oh, let us take the boys to school, the girls will stay home.
They'll bring dowry.
So UPE, USC, that's an achievement. Then university, you have 1.5 points for the girl, so that she's able to access university education.
There's been a huge debate on, you know, even scrapping the affirmative action thing,
Yes.
because now women, you're now beasts in classrooms. You are winning, you are becoming super at technology. Why do we need this affirmative action now?
We need an affirmative action because we still believe that women or girls are held back by the social-cultural issues. As much as you find that the literacy rate is about 65 or 70%, you still find parents who are still bound culturally to their traditions. For example, early marriages. They marry off, they still marry off these young girls, especially those who connect culture with religion. When you go out into the rural communities, you find that these policies, affirmative action, have not had a full impact on the rural communities. I spend a lot of time in the rural communities. And it's a shame that I have just discovered that actually there is a red line or a deep line between the urban woman and the rural woman.
Yes, yes.
So I would like to focus our discussion today. Of course, we hear these success stories, they are all over. We would like to focus this on the rural and the underprivileged women.
That's very good, because we you know, there's also a huge bit like the Sarantiros when they get there, the first, you know, woman graduate in Eastern Central Africa, which is quite an achievement. But we look at also some of the challenges that you have had to overcome to get to where you are. Lydia, there are so many initiatives for women. Oh, every time we hear women empowerment, so many forums. Now the debate has also been skewed a bit and taken out of context by feminists who have misused, you know, the word. What is so different about Winning Choices?
Okay, thank you so much, Mulondo. Now, what Winning Choices plans to do by launching Winning Woman on Friday, that's the 11th, is to provide a platform for women to actually connect and grow in their careers, business, and personal life. You see, what is happening is with most of these initiatives, they are maybe focusing on one particular area, maybe entrepreneurship. Then you find another focusing on something like business, another focusing on family life. But a woman is not only her business, and neither is she only her family life. For a woman to be what we would call a winning woman, she needs to be able to put all these areas into balance. How can she make her family happy while at the same time be a professional who is excellent at her work, while at the same time be a woman of value who knows her worth, building values of self-esteem, confidence, you know, these things that actually make us different at our workplace and extraordinary with the groups of people that we interact with.
You talked about balancing, and you know, Honorable, you obviously have very long hours. How do you balance that? And Mr. Chambat?
de facto, it's very hard to balance. Because when you're looking at balancing, you're looking at about 3 aspects. There is work, there are emotions, there is your contribution to these various sectors you hold. The office, your constituency, now I have politics, and your family. In my case, I've been in a public office for many years, all my life, since 78. And I used to work about 20 out of 24 hours. And I was perfect at work. Well, sometimes I would think that driving these kids to school at 7 o'clock, that you are consolidating a relationship with them.
Yeah.
That is the only opportunity we have with the kids, with me and the kids. Because by the time you get back at night, they're already asleep.
Yes.
So, with time, it grows. As they start growing away from you emotionally, because you're not there most of the time. It does not only apply to the children, but it also applies to your relationship with your husband. And repairing it after maybe 20 years or 30, it's very hard. We have a close relationship with my family, but still you find that there is a gap. There are certain things they cannot share with you.
Yeah.
Because you've not been in their lives.
You can't relate even if they started the story right now.
You've been providing, but materialism is not enough.
It's not enough.
Material stuff are not enough. So I've been at these shows where people say, oh, you balance, then you pray to God and God will help you. But you know, you say, God is not working alone. You have to work on it. So how do you balance? How do you make it work? Get a job, because everybody has a formula, must have a formula. This is not something you can advise people to do.
Yeah.
Get a job that is flexible, so that you know that I'll be working from morning maybe around until 4, then I'll be able to go and be with my family.
Yeah.
Weekends I must be with my family. So prepare flexi time for yourself, between you and your family. You need this family. It's you.
Right. Women, career women,
yes.
All these very confident women have been continuously accused for failing their marriages because they're working.
Yes, because of that. That is very true. That is very true.
Are you going to help that?
Well, just as she says, that it's for you to, it's unique. Everyone has a unique situation. Yes. Her situation as a family woman cannot be the same situation maybe of a banker.
Yes.
Recently in a taxi, I met a lady. So I was just telling her about the launch and why she should attend. Then she opened up to me and told me, you know what, Lydia? I quit my job. I'm like, why did you quit your job? And she's like, I have my 2 children got kwashako because I was never with them. I used to leave home very early and come back in the evening, so I never knew when they were feeding.
Yes.
So the only way of doing it was to quit my job and take another job that would actually enable me spend more time with my children.
Right.
And she's happier.
Right.
But you see, those are some of the hard decisions we have to take as women.
Yeah.
And maybe to leave the job that is more demanding for another job, so that you can actually be able to balance your family.
It's you to create time.
Yes.
But of course there's this argument. I've had in some shows women say, for me, my priority is my career.
Yes.
Yes, I must
Especially
develop my
the woman
career
today.
Yes, the woman today. It's my career. Don't tell me. And when I talk, they think, oh, don't tell me about family. I know family has food. They have a worker, a nanny looking after them.
Yes.
My husband is there, So my priority is career development. But no, you need to balance it.
That's very
that
true.
career, once you're not happy at home, the career, it will impact on you.
Is it because of the immense pressure that women face? Because ideally, even if you're succeeding, you're a politician, you are a minister, you are a mother, you're a wife, alongside that, we still expect you to be to fulfill your traditional role as a wife, as a cook, as a caregiver to the children.
Yes.
Is that too much pressure so that's why some women will say, let me drop one thing.
That is why it goes back to the question that is the woman really fully emancipated? Because all these roles we're trying to fulfill are getting a full woman, trying to be a real and full woman.
Right.
So you still find that this womanhood is still pulling on us. As much as we're trying to be like men, to be emancipated, it is pulling you back. Because all these roles you're talking about are roles we are supposed to play as women.
Yeah.
Have we woken up one day and said, that let my husband cook today? Well, in Europe we used to do it. I remember we lived in exile.
Yeah.
And we used to do it. My husband would
And it was fine in the
And it was
West.
fine. When we got here, my husband said, no. In Africa.
Let's go back to
that was exile. I thought he had changed. When we got here, said, no, madam, that was exile. We are back to
your work. You hinted earlier about the rural woman.
Yes.
And there's a huge disparity between the urban woman and the rural woman. I got an opportunity to go to Soroti, and the stuff that I had, the stuff that I saw was, horrendous.
And it is everywhere.
It's everywhere. Even in Europe, it is there. Women are still struggling. But for the woman in Uganda, what do they have to overcome to get to that level?
I've been in all these sessions and I've had successful women telling their stories. I have been this, I've gone through this. But I've also interviewed rural women. What are your dreams? Where do you want to go? But you can see they have no optimism. They've given up on life.
Very true.
There's no vision. She just sees beyond her doorstep. She just says, I want to grow my tomatoes and take them and be able to sell them on the road. She will say, I want my husband to be happy. She's still living in this. And some are leaders, women leaders, councils and all this.
Yeah.
But you can still see their thinking. There's no future for them. There's no vision. But what are we going to do about it?
Yes.
We who sit there and boast that we are successful, let us tell these women about their rights. Mulondo, can you believe that polygamy? Sometimes when I talk about these things in these sessions, they don't even want to cover them. Polygamy is on the increase.
Very true.
All this, about 38% are living under polygamous.
In the villages.
Not only villages.
And they're fine with it.
It's
not only
increasing.
villages. Even in urban areas.
Yes, yeah.
You find a woman living as a second or a third wife.
Yeah, and she's okay with it.
And she's a professional. So now you can see, we are talking about rural women suffering, but apparently the same issues are the same applying to us. Incest is another area. Now, but it even applies to the urban. Incest is another area. So these are the things we have to let them know their rights. That incest is criminal. Polygamy is not right for you. You can get out of it and start a new life. You can become something else. Then we have the cultural aspects, where they say a woman should be submissive, even if she's raped. In fact, when you talk about even a domestic rape, they think you're crazy.
Yeah.
They think you're crazy. You say,
how can you be raped when you're
married? You're married.
Is that supposed to rape you?
That's not rape.
Access to land, right. The man sells off the land, leaves the woman on a legal, and it's still happening in the rural areas. The woman sometimes is even forced out. Once the husband dies, the relatives will come and force her. So these are the rights we are supposed to disseminate to them.
Yes.
But we are in isolation. There is a very big gap. So that is why I embraced winning choices when they came on board. And we talked about it. And we said, let us fill the gap. Because whenever you bring it up, nobody wants to talk about it.
Right.
People just want to talk about their success stories. Oh, me, I have done this, I have done this, I have so many degrees. But what have you? Have you had an impact? Do you think that the women are fully emancipated?
That's beautiful. That's very, very good. You have an event on Friday.
Yes.
Tell us about that.
We are having a Winning Woman launch. Just as Honorable Amelia said, it's basically to empower the women, to empower the women about their rights and the potential they have. You know, the woman has a lot of potential, but it's just that she has not realized what she can do. And that potential can actually spill out to the other women. You know, once I am able to uplift myself, others are able to see me and pick a lesson from me. But that is if I also take myself to them. Because we're having so many women who have made it, a lot of money, but their money is just around them. Their money is just around them. Their success is around them, and they're driving very big cars. But supposing one of these rich women drove her car maybe to one rural town and just said, ladies, today I want to talk to you about how you can save and invest that little money. That is a skill that she would pass on, and probably pass after 1 month to see whether they've actually implemented. You see? So we're trying to get women through Winning Woman. The desire of Winning Woman is to hold a woman's hand to greatness. And actually what we shall be trying to do is to connect women to mentors, because that is the only way a woman can grow.
When she has someone,
yes, when she has someone she's looking up to. So we are starting the program from Kampala, but with an aim
to roll out
to the rural areas.
Free of charge.
Which we shall be paying 20,000 on this day. But what is very interesting is that for everyone who attends, there's going to be free public speaking training after the event. Why? Because, you know, women sometimes have the ideas, know what to do, but they cannot express themselves.
Exactly.
Very important. A career woman wants to tell her boss, you know what, I cannot take this on. You cannot tell me to do this. It's not right for me maybe to give into sex so that
I get a promotion.
Because she cannot express herself. The rural woman cannot be able to express her idea that she probably wants to suggest to her husband. I think it would be nice for us as a family to do this. So we are trying to help women learn how to express themselves.
So 20,000 shillings, where?
Yuma Showgrounds, Yuma Conference Hall, Lugogo. Yuma Conference Hall, Lugogo, and Jamal will be performing. The lady like Abachara,
we will also bring the other one of Amelia.
And of course, Honorable Amelia will be there also. She'll be our guest speaker, giving us lots of words of wisdom. And she's a great speaker.
Well, to all the women out there, especially the corporate women who are, you know, excelling in their jobs and they are going to greater heights, I think it's important now to take your success to people that need it. It's time now to move to the spheres of influence where people need you, not just your core 5 friends where you WhatsApp each other and then, you know,
and you hang out
and it stops there. Go to the woman that needs to be helped.
So that a woman is fully emancipated.
Yes, and maybe let me just add, you know, there is a lot of satisfaction that it gives to you when you actually go out and help someone, when you add value to someone. You know, when you add value to yourself, there is this joy, but it's not as much as when you add value to someone, when you can say, her life is different because
of me. Friday at Uma Showgrounds, 20,000 shillings only. Head over to our Facebook page. We're going to put up Lydia's contacts, winning choices, and be a part of that. When we come back, a very awesome update on sports. Isma will be telling us about the Champions League and also the chaos in the Athletics Federation, but also an update on Oscar Pistorius' trial. Stay with us. Good morning.
Everyday Life was brought to you by...
And we are HTC.
Are you and I ever gonna have a chance to be sisters?
You want the baby to have my name?
Would that be okay?
Son, I'm happy you came. Yes, especially since I thought you were shunning all things Newman. I have my own reasons for showing up.
What did you say about him?
I'm sorry, attempted rape.
Okay, look, whatever you think you know about him, you don't know his heart.
If there is a way to make me feel more miserable, you will instinctively find it.
You gave up the one woman you loved, and now you're having a hard time figuring out how to move on?
I can't imagine who would want to hurt a good man like you.
Okay, you know what? I don't need you telling me how to feel about Lily.
Are you pregnant?
No. Then why are you trying to alienate Tyler?
Has something happened between the two of you?
Are you afraid that I'm gonna do something to ruin your marriage, or that you will?
Why don't we have a party? I'll bring Nikki and bring your siblings. How's that?
Now, what are you gonna do? You gonna blackmail them this time, or are you gonna bribe them?
Looks like Mommy's not the only one who knows how to make up a story.
Oda, I no go stop to the singing. No problem. Keep singing. This singing will put you in trouble very soon.
You won't believe it's the boy's father that inflicted such injury on him. Just because he stole 50 naira. 50 naira for that matter. That man should be arrested. Oh, how God. How I wish I could just see that man and give him a piece of my mind.
Abigail,
I don't care if you're chatting with Barack Obama. When you're at work, you learn how to detach yourself from that phone else to get you into trouble. Whatever. I mean, you should be happy that a pilot is asking your friend out.
My brother, I learned that 3 armed robbers tried to rob a man as he came out of the bank at the junction before the express.
Don't try to be the hero.
You won't kill me. Do you know how long I've been waking you up quietly and you refuse to wake?
Now you can't interrupt someone.
I'd like to pray with you, nurses, being the vessels that the Almighty God has been using to heal his people.
Okay. Can someone please talk to me? What is going on?
Who is she?
See, I hate cheating in my life. I hate cheating, and nothing will make me have 50 kobo to that money I already get you.
Everybody empowerment as long as they can wake up and vote for their NRM.
As long as the voters exercise their rights to elect their leaders, there was no need for term limits in Uganda.
I know him. I know how he operates. I know how he thinks.
There are ways you can go around these obstacles.
Why should I conduct myself as if I am Muyai?
It's absolutely true. I admire the President Museveni.
Is the ICC a fascistic code targeting African leaders?
You cannot tell me that the whole trouble Kenya had revolved about only the 2 individuals.
The money is not in the budget of this financial year.
You can't beat God. You see, God is polygamous also. Look at Jeremiah chapter 31. The security of this country will largely depend on the contribution that the people make.
Running out of airtime can happen to anyone. The next time you recharge, simply dial *161# to get going again.
On the next episode of La Patrona.
Your girlfriend was murdered at the hand of a rapist. It says Inocencia Mercado's murderer is Police Chief Ramiro Chacon the Lizard.
Here. This is Lucho Vampa, my future husband. There's no reason for any of us to get blood on our hands. We'll watch them all fall.
There's only one who can serve justice. Whoever tries to take his place will go straight to hell.
Ha! Who are you talking about? God? God's just a bureaucrat who was on vacation when she was killed.
Shh, don't say that, he can hear you.
La Patrona.
At Orange, we know that running out of airtime can happen to anyone. That's why we bring you Wetase. Simply dial *161# to get going again. Convenience changes with Orange. Today changes with Orange.
It's exactly 13 minutes on to 9, and so we'll get right into the sports this morning. ISMA, the national rugby team, the Lady Cranes, are in Kenya for the Africa Rugby Sevens. How will their success be gauged?
I think the Lady Cranes, the national rugby team, have set the bar high for themselves on so many occasions, especially in the aftermath of qualifying for the Rugby World Cup back in 2007. And I was back in 2009. Sorry, I was one of those who joined the party because of my links with so many of the girls, and I know they want to go there and win this. Yes. I think.
Can they win this?
I don't think they will, but I think you'd get their success on getting to the semi-finals because they're in a group that has Zimbabwe, that has Namibia, and Tunisia. They've developed quite a rivalry between them and Tunisia because to qualify for the 2009 Rugby World Cup, they beat Tunisia here. Wow. And then they missed out on going to the next World Cup, that was last year in Russia, by losing to Tunisia when they were playing in North Africa. So, so it's a bit, it's either Tunisia or Uganda, because here you think South Africa will definitely get through. They are the strongest side in Africa women's rugby. Then after that, who comes in second? It's something that the Ugandan team will be looking forward to trying to do, because you notice that the rugby team, the ladies, have only lost perennially to South Africa. They haven't lost to so many of the other sides. So I have a feeling that they should be able to beat Namibia and Zimbabwe and probably get to the semi-finals of these sevens. And also, if only they could get to the final, there's a big prize for them. They will be sponsored to play on the on the IRB series, which is where the real money is. You'd play on 2 of the 5 legs, and that would get you a bit of money into the players' pocket. So I know even with the kind of preparation they had when they started, they didn't even have water training, they didn't have some of the equipment. All those things have come together, I think, in the past 1 week or so. When one of the companies, I think Dimension Data, got into plug their hands into their pockets and threw some money at the ladies there. That's how they managed to get to Nairobi. So while the preparation has not been good, I would really back them, because I look at all the other countries, Senegal, Madagascar, probably Kenya, Zimbabwe, Namibia. It's got to be between South Africa, Uganda, and Tunisia.
Yeah. Definitely Tunisia to watch in our pool.
Yeah, exactly.
All right, we wish them all the luck.
Now, moving on to volleyball, tell us about this Ginger Open, which is actually not even being played in Ginger.
It was actually played in Ginger initially,
yes.
But then darkness fell, and the final couldn't be played between Sporters and Nemo Stars. And I was actually informed this that it had been moved to Lugogo, and this is Wednesday. Not where it was supposed to be. In a year when Nemo Stars, who have been the dominant team of Ugandan volleyball for the past 1 year, haven't done well. Last year they got to 8 out of 10 finals. They won 8 out of the 10 finals they played, including winning the league. So they were in that kind of mode. And this year they haven't done that well, because I think they concentrated most of their efforts in trying to win, trying to do well at the Africa Club Championship, where they wanted to get the quarterfinals. Didn't do that. But while they've been away, the old team that was there, the Sporters that won the league title, I think, back in 2005, is back and has been doing the business. They've already won several titles already this season. Right. They were in Indeji and won, they were in Makerere and won, they were at KIU and won. All those tournaments that were played. This is also a build-up to the league, because the league is not too far away from starting. So you need to get the league with that kind of momentum. And Nemo Stars have not been doing well. But now that it's in Lugogo, you've got to think Nemo Stars will look at this as one they can win, especially that there is no darkness. There will be floodlights in case it gets dark.
And Umeme?
Umeme someone has a way of messing up Lugogo. I don't think
they should do what the golf club did. They bought a generator. When Umeme does its usual thing, automatic. They need to move to such things now, you know. It's very sad. Something that caught my attention also, you know, Oscar Pistorius' thing about this guy had about 300 pages of WhatsApp messages between the two, between Riva and Oscar. And of course, Oscar breaking down, he's going to be in court today again. Yeah. And it's exactly what you said yesterday. He's giving this thing of he's a very good guy, very calm, and I think
after everyone had made him look like a devil.
So the messages are love messages, that he loved her, and what
portraying the relationship between the two, and they were kind of, you know, debating whether the relationship was bad, that it forced Oscar to kill his wife. So we may be jailed for talking about something in court, but but you can catch that trial. They're not showing Oscar's face. We're just hearing and seeing the rest of the other people, the family members. Only Oscar is not shown. So it's good for sport. But the biggest night in European football. Chelsea, Madrid, what happened?
If Chelsea were a student, they'll be the kind of student to get 51% in the exam because they did exactly enough. But like you know, in every war, the victors of war are the ones who write the history. How they won the war, and Chelsea can go and write their history because they needed to win by only 2-0, and they did exactly that. Andre Schürrle and Demba both coming off the bench and scoring those 2 goals to get Chelsea through to the semi-finals. I think one of the things that played in their favor was a bit of the experience and the patience. I've got to give them a lot of credit for the patience, and for the moment when Chelsea was struggling to get that second goal they needed, I don't think they stopped playing. That's one. But then two, it was a return to the Mourinho DNA, the football that he loves, where you kick the ball from defense to the box and just forget about the midfield. And Chelsea were doing exactly that. When they realized we're not going to go through PSG passing the ball,
because their midfield was
midfield was that strong. Marco Verratti, everyone was throwing in tackles. Johan Kabay had come in to slow down the game. So they decided to do the route one football, the one that made Didier Drogba one of the most prolific scorers in the Premier League at some point and in Europe. So for me, Chelsea just doing enough. They would get promoted to the next class, and then after that, they'd have to deal with how they improve their marks from 51 probably 80%.
Yeah.
And for now, they could say they did just enough. The same way Real Madrid, while I thought they had done all the business back in Spain last week, and for me they did with that 3-0 result in the first leg. I also thought they did just enough because they lost the game in Dortmund by 2-0. Marco Reus scoring both on a wretched night for Real Madrid. They didn't play at all. Even if Cristiano Ronaldo was on the bench coaching them throughout the night because he wasn't playing or because of his injury. He spent the entire evening coaching, and he was actually being warned by the fourth official. It was quite a scene seeing him that animated. I almost thought that it could only be animated when he has the ball at his feet, but it was also animated on the bench.
He's probably going to be a coach one day.
But all players, I think, eventually end up there. If they are not on televisions like we are, they probably end up in coaching.
And Seedorf should stop.
No, he shouldn't. Yeah, but Madrid, like Chelsea, just doing enough, going through 3-2 on aggregate, and now they're into the semi-finals. So we'll see how it goes. I think of all the teams, I was impressed more by Chelsea. Right. I love the patience. I really love that patience.
I wanted to ask, what is Mourinho saying? Is he saying, oh, Champions League is not attainable, just as he's saying the Premiership is still not attainable?
He's not spoken about how far they can go in terms of the title, but he says this was one of the best results he's had as a manager in his time at Chelsea.
You could see it, he was running all over the
place. When they scored that second goal, you could see what it meant to him.
It was really
It's actually 10 years since he ran that long, because the last time he ran that long was when they knocked out Manchester United when he was coach at Porto back in 2004 at Old Trafford. So 10 years to get that sprint back, that's what it meant to Mourinho.
It was that memorable for him. Man United tonight face their in a very, 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 very uphill task. Will Wayne Rooney play?
I think that's going to be the biggest talking point until we get to 8:45, which is an hour before kickoff, when the team sheets come out for the very first time. But Wayne Rooney has not been able to train with the team because of that bruised toe that kept him out of the game at Newcastle over the weekend. But I think they are going to play him regardless. He's going to take, if he needed 4 injections, he'll take them. And United know that if Rooney plays, they can have the luxury of playing with so many different things, because he'll drop and defend for them. He'll come in the midfield and play that pass that made Bayern look very, very average in the first leg when Dan Welbeck ran at them. But like you said, they have a monumental task to go to Bavaria and win this game, or probably score twice. If it's goalless, Bayern are through. Probably if United draw 1-1, they go into extra time. If they score twice United, then they are through, because in that, if they score twice without losing the game, then if it ended 2-2, United would go through. And they play for me...
ultimately, United has to get 2 goals.
Yeah, they have to score twice if they are to go through. Probably in the 90 minutes. If it's 1-1, they could go through in extra time. So in that kind of sense, I think United will be stronger than they were last week if Wayne Rooney plays, because they are Patrice Evra returning at left for Alexander Butner. But then Bayern Munich will be weaker than they were last week, because Javi Martinez and Bastian Schweinsteiger can't play. And then they've had all these injuries. Jadon Shaqiri got injured over the weekend. There's the suspension, of course, of Martinez. Luckily for them, Dante comes back at the back. And Pep Guardiola was talking about how the result over the weekend has no effect at all, because it's going to be a totally different team, a different mindset. You'd love to see how Philipp Lahm will cope in the middle. There for Bayern. They have the options. They have the options, because they could have 5-6 players out injured or suspended, but they're going to still put out a quality side. But if United do this, this would be almost at par with that 1999 victory at the Camp Nou, when they came from a goal down and beat up on Bayern by 2-1. It's got to be that kind of thing, because what Bayern have performed in Europe, they've only lost once to Man City, when they were leading by 2 goals and lost to Man City by 3-2. So you've got to think that if David Moyes pulls off this in a season where United have barely done anything,
it will cover every bad thing he has done.
And the worst thing is going to cover every bad thing on Saturday. when he beats Wigan and goes to the FA Cup final.
That had better happen.
I'll forgive him for everything if he wins the FA Cup.
At least the trophy, some silverware. Well, but moving on to Spain, Barcelona are in Madrid today with a 1-1 tie against Atletico. Does either team have any kind of advantage, in your opinion?
Barcelona will have it because of the experience. They have played at this level consistently. But Athletic are only here for the first time in 18 years. They haven't been to this stage since 1996. So, in terms of the experience, in terms of how Barcelona performed in Europe, and they're in the quarterfinals for the 7th successive season, it's advantage Barcelona. But I've repeatedly said I've watched 4 games between Barcelona and Atletico. There is nothing between the two sides.
Yes.
Probably if Atletico don't have Diego Costa tonight and Ada Turan, that could swing the tie in Barcelona's favor, because they still have one of the best players. Okay, for me, probably the best player in the world, Lionel Messi, and still have Iniesta in support and all the other guys, the guys who have tormented Europe for the past 8 years or so, when Barcelona have been dominant and Spain have been dominant too in terms of national
It's also showing at 8:45.
It's at 9:45, so at 8:45 the team sheet should be out. Yeah, so we'll know whether Diego Costa plays because of the injury, whether Ada Turan plays. He limped off at the weekend as a beat up on Villarreal by a goal to nil. I've got to think that I went for Atletico to win this after the first leg because they picked a commendable result at the Camp Nou, and Barcelona are not used to playing their second leg away from home. But if Atletico are a team of about 13 players, if 2 of them are missing and there is Messi on the pitch, never roll out the little man.
1:30 p.m. Catch Ismail Lumansi and Alan with more sports at that time on Omomoli. And before we leave you, your African proverb.
Our African proverb comes from Madagascar. An egg does not fight a rock.
Because
that's
yeah.
I think that's
what more can we say? You know who you are.
Yeah.
I think
only pick
the
battles. Exactly. Pick the battles you can win.
Yeah.
Why would an egg fight a rock?
It's what Kasiate keeps saying. A border man, you know your place. Now you are in the middle of the road. There's a truck coming, but you want to stay in the middle of the road.
But there's quite a battle downtown. You know what has happened to Usafi.
Yes.
There was quite traffic jam right from up on, I think on Ginger Road around Steers. And the taximen, I met some of them last evening because I do talk to them thanks to my affection for sport. And they were telling me they are going to fight KCCA to the end. Probably they are not the egg in this.
Yeah,
obviously
because it's a rock. So really, know what battles you want to take on today. And Manchester, Bayern is a rock.
No, Manchester could be a stone.
Manchester is not necessarily an egg.
It's not an
but
egg.
Bayern, in fact, Bayern is different. It's a metal hard place. But we'll see. We are praying for you. Tomorrow, I hope you win the game and we'll be here happy. It's been an awesome time with you guys. We'll catch you tomorrow. And make sure to follow us at NTV Uganda, at Morning at NTV, Morning at NTV on Facebook. And for each of our personal handles, send us feedback in how you can make this better. To the team at the rooftop and at the studios, I want to say, hasta la vista, baby.
NTV, turning on your world.
You can bring everybody in parliament as long as they can wake up and vote for the NRM.
As long as the voters exercise their rights to elect their leaders, there was no need for term limits in Uganda.
I know him. I know how he operates. I know how he thinks.
There are ways you can go around these obstacles.
Why should I conduct myself as if I am Muyai? It's absolutely true. I admired the President Museveni.
Is the ICC a first code targeting African leaders?
You cannot tell me that the whole trouble Kenya had revolved about only the 2 individuals.
The money is not in the budget of this financial year.
You can't beat God. You see, God is polygamous also. Look at Jeremiah chapter 31. The security of this country will largely depend on the contribution that the people make.
On the next episode of Destiny River.
I can hit rock bottom, but I won't regret it. Ever.
First you wanted to give up on your mission, and now you want to leave?
The wood is completely legal to use, thank God. My source is clean. It's legal.
What?
You thought you could catch us cheating, huh?
The curse will be fulfilled.
Destiny River.